Blog Talk Radio.
Hey guys, this is Those Guys with your host, Matt Marrero, along with your other hosts.
Satish Ram, good evening.
We're doing Gravity Falls.
Because they're back.
It's weird, isn't it? Like, usually we're a bit behind on some things, we're trying to catch up, but no, it's here. It happened just last night, right? And here we are doing it, day after. Holy crap. That's all I want to say. Holy crap, holy crap, holy crap.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun for me.
I forgot how good Gravity Falls was. I always know because I'm always watching older Gravity Falls episodes somewhere or another, either with people or just in general, just sit there on and I'm flipping channels. But it's just you forget how good new ones can be, to the point where I watched the episode twice. The first time I had to just take it all in, and then the second time I actually took notes to podcast.
Yeah, I watched the first time live on Monday evening. I missed a little bit of Raw to watch it because Gravity Falls, I think, is one of these things where it's really necessary for me to watch it live. And I'll have to rewatch it 2 to 3 times before we can actually podcast about it. I know you and I have talked about that on air, that we both like to watch this more than once.
Yeah.
Where Steven Universe, I'll watch it more than once for fun because I'm like, I want to see that again. Gravity Falls, I like to watch a second time because there are things that I won't pick up on the first time around because I'm not the internet.
I noticed that too.
Yeah, it's really, really important for me to do that. And I think this was the only thing that made me upset about this episode before we get into it, and I think you might understand where I'm coming from, is the idea that we've talked about this being a 3-season show, or like 2 seasons in a movie. And the amount of things that they tied together in this, or at least that they tried to tie together, I think really emphasized the idea that this is not going to be like a 4-season show. Like, it really doesn't seem to me that it's going to be a thing where we're going to have that 4th season due to commercial success or something, because they tied up a lot here, and it really feels like they've got this projected path in my head of like 3 seasons or 2 in the movie, because we noted this the last time we podcast, but we hit the mid-season finale. The last time that we podcast, the middle of season 2. And if this is a 3-season show, that is the middle of the series. We're 50% of the series. So kicking off the second half of the series, we have something that ties together a lot of stuff from the first half of the series. And that's really significant.
So I'm confused. Did you not say this was a bad thing?
I said it was a bad thing because, like, for me, it's disappointing because, like, the end is near. Like, obviously it's not like 2 episodes away. But it's disappointing in the sense of like I would be fine if like there's more to it, or we get 3 and a movie or something.
3 and a movie, I enjoy that. Here's the thing. I have to disagree completely because for a few reasons. First off, it's Disney's schedule. So I would like to let you know that we're going to have this show go on for the next 5 years. It's the same schedule. About, 2 seasons in a movie or 3 seasons, So don't worry. It's still going to go on for the next 5 years. Don't you worry. All right? And number 2, the real thing, the one that's, then again, I shouldn't be joking. It might be legit. But the real thing is, I like that they have this plan because, frankly, I feel like American shows, and it can happen elsewhere too, but I really see a lot in American television, things end up getting lost in the shuffle. I mean, to be honest, right, I know that you've said, man, I wish there's more. But do you really want Scrubs Season 9?
No, I was actually just about to make that explanation on air, where it's like, don't get me wrong here. Like, I'm not asking for Scrubs Season 9. I'm not asking for, like, a whole, like, side season going on or, like, too much filler, or something that just doesn't really fit with the realm of the series. I'm just disappointed in the sense, like, I have to face the reality that we're halfway. Yeah, like, I'm really into the series. And I do respect the fact that they've got their plan and they're sticking to it. But that's what hurts, because I'm like, oh, my God, this is not. Like, I watched Scrubs going through it from the beginning knowing, like, okay, I've got 8, essentially, not counting the 9th season, 8 seasons of this shit to get into, Like, Gravity Falls, although it may go on for a good couple of years, because as much as you were kidding, that you were half serious too. It's going to be a thing where it'll be really disappointing when it ends. And I know we're just sitting here like, 50% of the series and making that comment, but I mean, if you're here listening to us or you're listening to us in the archives, you know what we mean. You do know what we mean because
of course.
You understand what the show is doing, and it's really fucking good.
I love it so much that even though it's going to hurt when it does end, I just want to see it end in a weird way because it worries me. Because I don't know, I see so many, shows. You look at Scrubs, right? And you look at Supernatural too. I loved Supernatural in the beginning, and I'm not going to say that I hate it to death now, but there's definitely something that I consider lost a bit.
What is Supernatural in right now, by the way? Give me an actual number.
10, and I thought at least 10 was going to be the final one, but apparently it's been confirmed for another season, possibly two. The idea is that this can go into its 11th or 12th season, i.e. the two characters have, the two actors, Jared Padalecki, and no, I can't forget your name. For 11 to 12 years. Yes, Jensen Ackles. For 12 years. That's the thing. So I know it's live action versus animated, but still,
No, but still, it's the thing where, like, we look at Scrubs, and Scrubs is 9 seasons, or Friends, and Friends is like 9 or 10 as well. And it's like, that's why people identify these roles with these characters. Like, for example, in Gravity Falls, we have Ken Jenkins doing that one where, like, he does the old, like, the grandpa owning the Stop and Shop thing.
Right, yes, of course, yes.
And he played Kelso in Scrubs, so I sit there and I'm like, that is Dr. Kelso. And then we have J.K. Simmons doing the voice of Stan's brother here, and immediately all I could think of is, like, give me photos of Spider-Man. And I laughed to myself when I heard the voice. I'm like, that's that guy.
What's really funny is I forgot his name to face. I forgot his name to face. So when you tell me J.K. Simmons, the next thing when I asked, I was like, I'm going to look it up. What's name to face? Can't think of it. Your text was, get me photos of Spider-Man. And all I knew, get me photos of Spider-Man.
And you knew immediately, didn't you? Because I sat there and I knew you. That's legit what happened when I was trying to explain to Matt why I was excited. I was like, J.K. Simmons is Stanford. And he's like, what? I don't remember the name to face. And I just wrote in all caps, get me more photos of Spider-Man. And he immediately knew. Like, yes, that guy. And I'm like, yes. I was going to say J. Jonah Jameson, but it was much easier to go with the whole.
Yes.
But so good voice acting in this episode, too. That's like in general.
In general, I love the voice acting in the show, but one thing I want to say is, I'm happy that, they have, because also I want to say this too, though, to be fair. This show could still go on, sadly. Now, I don't know if there's something in someone's contract that says it can't, or at least the main show can't, but don't put it past anyone to say to Hirsch, you can leave, but we're making a season 4.
I would really hate that, though. I would hate
because it happened with Supernatural. Kripke, the creator, he left around season 5. And
I hate when that happens. Because if you go back to Capcom, like the Mega Man X series, so I think they made up to, like, 5 was supposed to be the end of the Mega Man X series. And then they were like, nah, fuck you, we're going to do 6, 7, 8, so much, like, other, and it was so bad because, like, 5 actually, like, story-wise, if you were a Mega Man X fan and you had followed, like, Mega Man X1 up to, just X, essentially, up to 5, really built something, and they had a dramatic little finish there. So it really sucked. Like, 6 was playable, but past that, it hurt me. So, like, the idea of, like, the 4th season of Gravity Falls without, it's like the Boondocks season 3 to me, which really hurt.
Well, think about it like this, too, if you want to think about it like this. The idea that Kojima has left certain projects, like Silent Hill, or in general, has left, company. And because of that, we actually have Metal Gear Solid 5 coming out without Kojima on it, like as if his, anything he's done on it.
Correct.
And I'm pretty sure they're going to continue the series without him. And they also took down anything related to the new Silent Hill. Because it's just like, oh, you don't want to do this? Okay.
Right.
And it's still going. I don't know about Silent Hill, but at least Metal Gear Solid is still going. So
it's still going. Yeah, no.
if you want to feel like you want it to continue, it will, but it'll be like signing your soul away to the devil, where it's just like, I got what I wanted, but not really.
Right, it's the thing where, like, we got Boondock Season 3 years after the original 2 seasons, and the original 2 seasons meant a lot to me. I thought it was very revolutionary television, and I'll have that argument with anyone on air any day. I don't know if I can ever get Matt to podcast on it. We haven't discussed this much openly, so this is me, like, not saying, like, oh, I've tried to get Matt. No, I haven't really mentioned this that much.
We'll talk.
Yeah, Boondocks was a big thing, but it's obviously very controversial to talk about. But Season 3 was weaker, and so I don't want there to be, like, this weak, like, step-sibling season, like Scrubs Season 9, or, like, a Season 4 of Gravity Falls to weaken that. I don't either. So I would rather have the 3 seasons with our strong finish and end that off.
Exactly.
But, of course, it's disappointing to face the reality because now things are starting to come together. And
yes.
And some things that come together hurt a lot.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean,
a lot of
feeling better
emotions,
too.
I think.
You know, before we actually get into the episode, 2 things. One, the idea that, I mean, these characters can still survive in other spin-offs and things like that. You know, comic books, books, even in general, just having these characters appear elsewhere. I mean, it happens all the time in some way or another. I mean, I was up last night around 4 a.m., and as it happens sometimes, you're watching the Adult Swim block and old shows come on that used to air on Adult Swim. Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law, comes up. And they have the cast from Johnny Quest in it. Now, I'm not saying that's how we want Gravity Falls to continue. But what I'm saying is the idea that, you know, these things have a way of never dying. I mean, you know, to promote some other stuff that we're currently doing. As you know, Satish, Tristan and I are doing a Dragon Ball Super podcast every week on the newest Super episode. I want to clarify, Dragon Ball Super, the new Dragon Ball anime. Like, I know everyone's like,
yeah, live on air.
Think about that. Really let that sink in, Satish.
In 2015,
Dragon Ball anime.
In 2015.
Yeah. The new Dragon Ball, the new Digimon anime, Digimon Tri, coming out with the original.
Don't you start with me.
I'm trying to let it really sink in. Like, these shows are never dying.
Don't you start with me, Matthew.
It's gonna fade away for a bit, maybe. Well, I mean, hell, you know.
However, your point is not falling on deaf ears. I see what you're doing.
But anyway, number 2, I want to mention something really fun. So I took notes today, also for Monday Night Raw. We're not doing it tonight, obviously, but I took notes for Monday Night Raw. So I open up my notes, and it's wrestler versus wrestler, and I'm like, I think I stepped into the wrong neighborhood. I scrolled up, and I found Gravity Falls. I was like, that's where you are. We had our dispute.
We have our storyline right here. This is the best storyline that WWE could offer in years if they copied
Gravity
this whole.
Falls?
Stanford versus Stanley thing. Where it's like, and you took my name, you took my house, and everything. It's like
I think they did that with Goldust and Stardust, and then they dropped it.
Stanford is the heel, and then Stanley is like the misunderstood face. That we're all like, no, we believe in you. You can do it.
Oh, God. All right, so moving to the actual fucking episode.
I'm never moving on from this until they become friends again. And then they become the most dominant tag team in WWE.
God damn it. First off, did you notice this episode was actually longer than usual, and I like that.
Yeah, we got the full opening too. Because before, when we got the longer episodes, we got the full. We had less commercials. Did we have any commercials at all?
No, that's what I'm trying to say to you. What they did this time, it was very interesting. Okay, so yes, we got the full opening because recently on Disney XD we've gotten cut openings. But here's the thing, right? The episode was actually 30 minutes straight. However, someone didn't tell this. Okay, someone did not discuss something with Alex Hirsch in the sense that they wrote it with commercial breaks because you saw the episode cut to, at points, what looked like would be a commercial break.
Yeah.
But I was not watching it on my DVR.
It was just for the next scene.
I'm sorry. Yeah. No, I was not watching it on my. I'm sorry. I was not watching it on my on-demand. I was watching it on my DVR because I didn't watch Raw last night, but I watched something else last night. Had Raw also on my DVR. So anyway, I'm watching Gravity Falls, and it cuts as if it's like, commercial break, but then it didn't. And I sat there and I thought, huh? And I was like, no, I recorded this. This is not on demand. And it's also a straight 30 minutes. And I realized so Hirsch was allowed because, it's Hirsch and Gravity Falls is doing very well. He was allowed to make a 30-minute straight episode. What he thought, though, was, I guess maybe they were under the assumption that, hey, we're going to put commercials in there. But because it was 30 minutes and not 42, they were probably unable to stretch it out to a full hour. And maybe during the first run, they thought 45 minutes would be a bit awkward. So they thought, maybe at the end, Hirsch was able to convince them to do it straight up because it's Gravity Falls is doing very well, and there is a huge fan base behind it, and Disney knows that. That's why he's had a lot more leeway than he did in the first couple episodes of the series. Because, you look at the inconvenience thing, right? And Mabel, when she wrote down "you stink," it was actually originally supposed to be "you suck," but apparently censors did not like that. in this season, she'd probably be able to say that with no problem whatsoever.
Yeah,
like that's just my opinion.
We had just some bluntness, I think, right away, and I really like that.
In the last season, I feel, which is not bad at all, because it's not like kids don't say certain things that they're saying in the show. But anyway, what I'm saying is this, though. The idea that I think because, it's doing so well, they let him do it, but I don't think that he was, I don't think he was informed at first, when it was first written, when it was first made, the way it was made. Maybe he made them so long in advance, so that's why. But the idea is that when you look at it, it's made to be cut up into commercials, not to transition like other TV shows do. Not to transition. No, it was made to all right, commercial. But it didn't happen. It went straight for 30 minutes. And there's talk that it might go for 38 minutes with commercials in there. Because, maybe 40. But I don't think it can go for the full hour with commercials because it's a 30-minute straight. It's not 42. Because you usually see something like 42 minutes, 44 minutes. Oh, that's an hour-long drama on television. Not this, though. Straight 30 minutes, no commercials, jam-packed. And I sat there and I thought, this is good. Because we need this. Just all of this. 23 minutes would have been fun, but 30 really drives it home. And in my head, I'm wondering if there, it's going to be even like a longer version, like a director's cut on the DVD. Because 30 is a strange number. 30 is a strange number for me. But it's fun, but it's still a strange, number to have. Anyway, so... yeah, I think giving Stan a brother, tell me what you think about this. I think giving Stan a brother really was the best thing to give life to his character, because I don't think Stan was getting stale. I'm not going to say that. But I don't even want to say he was getting one-dimensional, because they were giving him little things here and there to kind of lead up to this, right? And I'm not saying this is like a huge issue, like, oh man, Stan was just terrible and everything was terrible, but I can understand someone saying that his I like money shtick was getting a bit old, a bit like Mr. Krabs, right? But giving him Stanford really brought something else out of Stan. Because you got to see this brother dynamic and this family dynamic.
They have another brother.
Right, well, of course they do. They have to. Because that's Mabel and...
because I thought that was actually a really big thing, though. Because, we were all sitting here, freaking out over, all right, so Stan, Stan has a twin, blah, blah, and we got that, right? Mm-hmm. But, one of the early lines in the episode was that, these are, because a lot of people were thinking, oh, well, maybe his twin brother or his sibling in general is the direct relative to these kids. But no.
Oh, I get you.
There's a third unmentioned brother named...
right, that they just don't talk to, or maybe he passed away or something.
Apparently named Sherman or Shermy or something. Because...
Shermy's
these are Shermy's kids. And it's like, wow. Now, I think he says these are Shermy's... I don't know if he says Shermy's grandkids.
He does say grandkids. Yeah,
okay, good.
Because they're a bit older than the kid, but they're not that much older. Because think about it. If they're in their 60s, and then Shermy's in his 50s...
no, it could work. I'm with you.
Yeah. So, but it was, because they had the twins, and then the third one probably was not planned. Because it was like, we had twins, that's enough. Third one, damn. Just the dad, I'm not impressed.
I liked him a lot.
I love him so much.
Rod, I'm impressed.
No, I like the whole, I got to speak to you frankly. Frankly is the only way I speak.
No, I liked his character because it was a parody.
Yes, but it made sense because I think looking at this family, you can really see how Stan became the way he is. His pathological liar mother.
He was disowned, too.
Yeah. We're not even there yet, but dear God, that was rough. But talking about, I want to talk about the the line from Seuss. I'm hoping all this aligns exactly with my fanfic, Stan.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Immediately when we got into that, I laughed really hard because I know that sometimes they'll throw in stuff like both Steven Universe and Gravity Falls. I feel throw in lines that are to us.
Yes,
in terms
I will
of,
admit.
Not us directly. Not like when WWE tries to parody us directly.
That's what we talk about sometimes. We're like, WWE listens to the show, and we'll laugh, and we'll sometimes sit there and go, maybe. No, but us is the fan base for Gravity Falls. But I want to mention, so it didn't feel right in the moment, in my opinion, in the sense that Seuss just figured this out, so like he has fan fiction. But I have to be honest, it's just the best joke to make. So I'm sticking to what I just said, where like this one felt a bit too out of context in a way, even though Seuss is a fanboy, to be like, you know, it felt more really like as if you were speaking, but still it was the perfect joke. That's the thing. It was the perfect joke. I'm happy it was made. Out of like I think Dipper yelling was better because that's something in the moment that works for Dipper because he's been fanboying about the journal for so long that him screaming about the journal just makes sense, just like I screamed and maybe you did and I'm sure a lot of people screamed when it's like, and then I made the journal, you know. And I was like, you know, and then he screams. That made sense. But this one to me didn't make as much sense, but it, you know, again, storyline wise, but as if it matters. In this, everyone gets one, right? Everybody gets one. Gravity Falls gets one. Actually, Gravity Falls gets about like 5. They've earned the credit.
I thought it was fine because I thought it was just a direct thing for us to laugh at. Just like them basically sitting there like, we know you write fan fiction about this. And
it's perfect because, it's legit though, because there's not even that, you know, there's someone out there. There has to be someone out there, or at least a group. There has to be a decent amount of people out there that are on the internet. Maybe not even, but I feel like they'll be on the internet. And they're actually sitting there going, this better align with my fanfic.
No,
otherwise,
that's why I laughed. Where it's like, there are people sitting there like, no, this is not how my fanfic is supposed to work. And I'm like, that makes me smile. 1, because of your dedication to your fanfic and your craft. I respect that. And 2, because of the actual statement.
Yes, the idea where it's just like, no, but the creators can't overwrite my fan fiction. It's in the name.
It's like in Steven Universe, in one of the episodes when Amethyst is mimicking Pearl, and Amethyst says, "Why didn't anybody ever tell nature that it's supposed to be the way I want it to be?"
It always reminds me of Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged when Taya pretended to cry in front of the gym teacher, just like she did in the real show. And for the Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge episode, she was pretending to cry, and all of a sudden, I think it was Tristan, though. She's like, she's crying because she read the 7th Harry Potter book, and it doesn't align with her fan fiction. Something like that. And it was perfect, because that's what I always think about sometimes when I'm watching a show and, like, there's a ship that I personally don't see or something, and I just think of Taya. Just why my fan fiction? Like, that's what I think about. But anyway, so, yeah, moving back into the episode, I love the store names, by the way. There was Hot Belgian Waffles. There was Knuckle Sandwiches. And then if you notice, the truck that went by was a Pit Cola truck.
Yes.
The little things. We're going to talk about the little things a lot in this episode because it's beautiful. So, so we mentioned his parents before, but, you know, getting into them before we even mentioned the whole kicking out thing, just we have a stoic dad who never gives praise. We have a pathological liar mom. Makes a lot of sense to where Stan went with his life.
Right, tough guy, liar.
Basically.
And, of course, I alluded to before, he was disowned by this family.
Yeah, which we mentioned a bit later, but yeah, I mean, that's a problem. The Stan of War, because this is when Stan was younger. The Stan of War, I can't believe that the boat. Like, it's one of those things where, like, they gave us answers for questions we weren't even asking, which I think was also kind of cute. Because it's nice to know that, you know what, we're not just going to sit there and just be like, I made the notebook. See, he made the notebook. I also did this. See, he also did that. That's the end of the story. And everything you were asking was answered. No, just little things. Like, hey, Stan's boat. Hey, apparently Stan's from New Jersey.
That kind of made me laugh.
I was confused.
Glass Shard Beach.
Yeah, I'm really confused. Here's why, right?
Go ahead.
All right, so we're from New York. So, and he's from New Jersey. So is Stan still meant to be the villain? Is this like some foreshadowing by Alex Hirsch? Because I thought we were supposed to trust Stan, but we're from New York. So I'm a little confused.
So he's a heel.
That's what I'm saying. Is Stan the bad guy? Like, what's going on here? I thought we were supposed to. No, because last episode it was like, trust me, and I was right there with him. I was like, you know what? I trust you, Stan. I don't know now. I don't know. All right, so let's explain what's going on. To some people that might not understand. No, because I think some people, there's a rivalry that's been going on. I don't know when it started. I'm going to say the dawn of time with Jersey and with New York, although maybe Jersey's fine with us. Maybe it's just New York and Jersey.
No, they hate it.
Oh, cool. All right. So it's New York against New Jersey. And so I want to explain that because I think some of our listeners that might not be here might be like, what is Matt doing? Is this why is he being so mean to New Jersey? So maybe that's, if some people aren't, and if you are in New Jersey, you're thinking, why is he being so mean? You know exactly why.
But
yeah. So anyway, but seriously, it's really nice to see that Stan's from Jersey because it feels like it's relevant to us in a way where it's like, it's like New York, but not really, in the sense where it's kind of like, oh yeah, like we're gonna like I feel like some cartoons would be like, yeah, we'll put him in New York City. It's like, no, put him in Jersey. So I kind of like that in a way. Where usually it feels like we're the one that's always chosen. So
yeah, a lot of things
to put him in Jersey.
And I think also part of that is like comic books and superheroes, where it's like, and in New York, and in Gotham.
Yes.
And it's like, all right, we love New York. We know you all love it too. Kind of amusing to see Glass Shard beats New Jersey. I'm like, I'm with it. I am 100% with it.
They call themselves the Jersey Kings, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, Kings of New Jersey.
Kings of New Jersey, thank you.
And I
laughed.
I'm like, that's kind of cute, because that's not an achievement, but that's kind of cute.
Yeah. Yeah. But, moving on. Okay, so I don't know about you, but I knew Stanford was going to be called in to go to that, to go to like an exclusive college or something, because it's like, both of you come down. And it was like, you come in. I was like, wait, that's weird, but okay. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, no, he's in trouble. I'm like, he's the quote-unquote good one. He's going to a really cool college. Or something crazy, like, your son is an amazing talent. Right? So all of a sudden it was like, yeah, super cool college. Here you go. I was like, that's expected.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it, but I was like, that's expected. Also, by the way, so I know I mentioned, mom, pathological liar, but I like that she loves Stan. And she loves them both, but I like that she does love Stan. The dad, I'm not to say that he hates him, but he definitely just feels constantly disappointed, probably. Like, it feels like it's like, oh, yeah, whatever. My son does not impress me, right? I don't get impressed easily. He's not impressive, blah, blah, blah. But I love that the mom, I feel like she does care for Stan because she calls him a free spirit, and some might look at that as a backhanded compliment, but I look at it as a way
compliment.
I look at it as a way for her to cover up, like, the failings in the most quote-unquote mom way possible. Where,
if someone called me free-spirited, I'd take it as a compliment. I know someone would be like, you hippie idiot, and I'd be like, no. But if someone were to call me free-spirited, I would think that's a nice thing.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like that's something that a mom...
It is a mom
I don't want to say
thing.
Yes. And I'm not trying to say, like, dads can't do it either. I'm just saying that, from what I've seen, like, that's definitely something my mom or I've seen, some of my friends' moms say about their kids if they're in the principal's office.
Mm-hmm. No, and
it's just
it was kind of tough because you can see how dedicated they are to each other in terms of how they grew up together, and it was true. They apparently only had each other as friends.
Yeah, which is cute in a way, just to be able to see them kind of just be each other's best friend because I do have younger brothers, but sadly I'm they were so much younger than me, so like I did grow up as a single child for a while, and I'm happy to have them in my life now because they're great, but I didn't have them for the younger years. So, and I know you feel the same way, not having any like siblings living with you at home. So the idea just kind of just like, yeah, like we're here at home, right? Not having like the large group of friends. Yeah, we're here. Right? So it's nice to be able to see something like, oh, that's really cute. Like they're twins, but they're not trying to be the twins that are just like, oh, God, get us away from each other. No, we have to be different. Shave one of our heads. I mean, there were slight differences, yes. But it was still like, there was still a brotherhood between them because, duh, they're brothers. But there really was a brotherhood between them. And I liked that.
Yeah, it was really, really strong. And I wanted that to be a thing. I just wanted that to be a thing. And but based on the beginning, the discussion, I really liked it because of the immediate, like, all right, yeah, so Stan Lee found his brother and he's really, really happy. But Stanford's still really pissed at him.
And then we get to see what's going on there.
And so,
we notice
not a happy-dovey.
No. But it's a complete misunderstanding, but it's interesting because I do feel like it's the most real thing that can happen. I will admit sometimes, even like last episode, I was saying, okay, just explain what you're doing. Just speak it. Just say it. It's better than nothing, right? However, in this case, it felt more real because it felt like...
because of Stan's father, I think, in terms of the... Are you talking about the incident that got
the incident, but I mean more the incident in the sense that, Stan wasn't good at explaining himself when he was younger. He was younger at the time. And also the fact that they both knew that Stan really wanted Stanford to go on, adventures, treasure hunting adventures with him. So regardless, and hell, Stan did want to break the machine. He just didn't want to break it that way. And frankly, he was holding back, and then it broke.
And I think also what made the scene for me was the fact that the way his father acted, because his father is basically put off as this no-nonsense, I'm not going to give you a chance to talk person. So then when he tosses him out and does his spiel, and you look up and Stanford's too upset to even vouch for him, it makes sense that he can't explain, no, it was an honest mistake, because they're like, no, fuck you.
Yes. Also something I think that a lot of, I don't want to say, okay, I know this can still happen, but I do feel like it's a bit different nowadays for many people. The idea that, Stan was kicked out. It seems harder to see that happen today, I personally feel. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just the family that I have, but I feel like it's harder to get kicked out nowadays, let's say, than it would be then, where it's like, hey, you're 18, you're a man now, get out. It feels like that's less of a norm. It can happen, but it's less of a norm than back then. So I feel like people on our age, or at the very least people that are younger than us, who are the teens that are watching, who are the kids that are watching, it's just like, man, that's crazy. That could never happen. And it's just like, that, that's the, that, I mean, not saying, And again, I'm not saying that, every dad now is not no nonsense. Yes, there are a lot of different kinds of people out there. But still, it seems like it's a bit different nowadays than it used to be. That's all I'll say. Things used to be a lot different, and it used to be like, hey, I mean, arguably, I mean, if you're looking at it, the way they showed it at least, it's not even like Stan graduated high school. It was just
didn't.
Because at the time he was going to high school, it was like, well, I'm kicking you out.
Yeah, so he never graduated high school. So I think that's another little thing where it's like, no, he didn't, I assume, because it implies that he was kicked out before he was done with high school, or his senior year, and that he was on his own after that, just trying to make his way through. His pride being a big thing that I enjoyed because it explains a lot of his behavior. Like the fact that he lied to everyone, because in his head he's like, I'm doing the right thing, but I can't let anyone know because this is literally all I want to do with my life. I want to do something right. It really paints him as a face, and then as the misunderstood face in terms of for those who don't watch wrestling, a misunderstood good guy. And you have Stanley here playing the heel in terms of the bad guy, but also not necessarily like a bad guy like Bill, but Bill Cipher in the sense more like of a misunderstood heel, where he in his head is completely justified for his actions, because he doesn't really understand that it wasn't intentional, that his pain is real to him.
Oh, yes. Before we get into Stan's pride, I want to mention that I want to look online. Everyone should probably look online through whatever search engine you use and check if Hugapalooza 2000 was a thing. It sounds legit to me.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't it? Doesn't it sound real? At first you laughed, but then you sat there and you thought, actually, there's a chance that happened. Okay, so we're there.
I'm thinking of it as this kind of festival.
Yeah, no,
just Hugapalooza 2000.
Fight to the death. Wait, what? And then so Stan got into sales, which I think was perfect. Stan got into sales, and I loved it because it made so much sense. Because it's like, so how am I going to get money? How am I going to get money? I'm going to be a con man. It was like, of course he is, because when isn't he a con man?
Right, and also it's implied earlier when we talk about the backstory that we do know of Stanley. Well, now Stanley and what we thought was Stanford. But the whole idea of, the Stanvac sucks more than anything. One of the things I really loved, Matt, and just had me rolling, was their dedication to making everything sound really fucking funny to us.
Like, it's a sham.
Stand back. It sucks more than anything. It's a real sham. And just like, then the Band-Aids, no, it does not give you rashes. It gave you rashes.
Yeah, no, because the amount of times that he said it, I thought, he's going to say that it gives you rashes.
Yeah, no, it just made me laugh so much, where I'm like, this is incredible. This is like the dedication to humor is really, really good for me.
And then, of course, these things that, interestingly enough, we didn't ask, but they still thought we should probably answer for them. And then I left and I changed my name.
Yeah, and Steve Feinington was born, so they explained all the fake IDs.
Yes, which is funny because like some people might say, you really weren't asking about that? No, I just assume he's a con man. So of course he has, like in my head, he's mentioned being in jail.
The jail thing. Yeah.
Yes, because in my head it's like he's been arrested in Tijuana before, so I assumed he just has fake IDs. Like it's funny, I guess maybe because there are certain shows that we just end up filling in blanks for that I'm totally cool filling in a few blanks because I didn't think they would need to explain. Like, I really thought, okay, here's are the main things that I'd want explained, right? And it was like, no, you get even more than that. And I was like, wow, thank you. Like, every little thing they said, almost every little word that was said, it was just like, and then later on we're going to explain why he said that specific word. Why does Stan pronounce the way he pronounces the? Like, find out on tonight's episode of Gravity Falls. And you sit there and you watch it and you're like, that did not seem tedious at all. Like, that explanation did not seem like it didn't need to be said. It just felt smooth. But anyway,
dedication to little things for humor was good. Even like things that the problem with this series sometimes is that you have to go back and watch every episode after every new episode. Like, I'll give you one that I think is really, really sad. The Legend of the Gobblewonker, if you go back, do you remember Stan had his little, he had his boat to take the kids out?
That's why I said the Stano War. That's why I said the Stano War, because I've seen it, and I was like, see, it's his boat.
Yeah, it says the Stano War, and, there's other stuff, too, and I'll touch on it more when we get to more, the actual, when it happens in the episode.
By the way, Backups More was hilarious, especially because if you notice, the principal was Alex Hirsch.
Right. Backups More
or whoever that was.
It was interesting to me that, he went from, top school in the country to, Backups More University. But, it's also implied that, Backups More isn't, a community school, but it's just, that, literally, your safety school that nobody actually wants to go to.
Okay. No, because I was going to say, I know you've talked about this. I believe you've mentioned this on air before. The idea, there's the idea that, we've talked about this, I believe we have, money. If you don't have money, colleges are really going to... Yeah.
I thought you were going to say, are we mentioning my backstory now?
I was going to ask if I wanted to be a little bit vague when I realized maybe I shouldn't. But the idea
it's okay. So for anyone listening, I was a pretty decent high school student, and I got into all the colleges I applied to, including an Ivy, and I couldn't go to it because of money. And this was a really big thing for me, where I ended up at a city school. What they call a city, essentially a community college here in New York. So I thought it was really amusing just to sit there, and his whole perspective was like, well, I had to work twice as hard, and I'm like, I get that. I really do. Because
also I want to mention something. Yeah, I don't want to get very political, but I just want to be just straight up with this. So, as some of you may know, Satish is Guyanese. Right, and I don't want to get too political, but I just want to say straight up. So for anyone just like, man, I wish I was a minority. They get it so much easier. Ha-ha.
Yeah.
Again, I don't want to get too much into it, but I just want to be straight up with that. Where it's just like, man, all these cool handouts that they get. Oh man, I wish I was a minority. It's just like Ivy League school he didn't get into. There's a chance you could. But anyway, so getting back to the actual episode at hand, speaking of things that are making appearances and stuff, a little here and there, the Owls make another appearance on the lotto ticket that Stan had. It's like, I had some ways to make money. Had a lotto ticket.
I actually enjoyed that part a lot. He's like, I was doing fine. I was in shape. You can see, a beer gut. Like, he had nothing going for him.
Yeah. But yeah, so, but I like the Owls because, of course, as you mentioned before, Twin Peaks. So
right.
I really enjoy Twin Peaks. Now, sadly, I haven't finished it yet, so got to get back on the Twin Peaks train.
Football player hurling a hot dog. Damn it!
What?
No, that was the third symbol.
Right, yes, okay. Sorry, I was focusing so much on the Owls, I forgot about the football player.
No, it's like, ow, football player holding a hot dog. Dang, damn it! I also feel
really
like Stan's old curse, by the way, his old curse words are all, like, stuff that he saw when he was a kid. Like, in Not What He Seems, in the thing, the line is like, hot Belgian waffles. Wait, I'm alone. I can curse for real. So, like,
wow.
Feel like, so
That's
I feel like
funny.
later on we're going to hear, like, lines from, like, things that we saw in his flashback, and that's how he, censors himself.
You know what's really funny? I knew I heard that phrase before in the show, but I can't remember, or at least in general, but I couldn't remember where. That's actually perfect. He said it before because I'm sure he tried to curse around the house and it was like, don't say that. So he'd say things like, hot Belgian waffles. Or maybe his mom would, because his mom was like, can't curse in front of the kids. Even though she's, the way she is, maybe it was like, so she'd say things like, hot Belgian waffles. Stanford, I'm sorry, not Stanford. Stanley. Has to be Stanley. Stanley, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
So he just picked that up. But anyway, speaking of Stanford, though, it's amazing because you notice that he's an artist in the beginning of the episode, right? And then all of a sudden you're like, of course he's going to be the one drawing the monsters in the book. He is an artist.
Mm-hmm.
Just little things where Stan didn't say, oh, yeah, and he was an artist. No, he just said, oh, yeah, six fingers. That's probably why he's, into, the supernatural stuff.
And you see him drawing supernatural stuff all over, yeah.
And it's like, wow, this makes a lot of sense. So he's drawing stuff in the journal, drawing stuff that we've seen flash through the journal here and there. We have him meet Shmeb. He's like, I'm sorry, what's your name again? Shmebyalak Senior. And I was like, damn it all, the fucking, it's like, why? Why'd you have to do that to me? Shmebyalak Senior. Like, hate you so much. Hate you all so much. And you know what that reminded me of, which was still funny to me, but it's like, damn you all. Young Robbie. That's what that reminded me of. It's like, is that Robbie? Young Robbie. It's like, you're young. Shut up. Stop it. So it's like, you're senior. You don't need to. Unless you had the kid already. You don't need to. So yeah, I love that. Just Shmebyalak Senior. And also something I called on the show. I'm sure others have too, but I don't really frequent the Reddits or any other boards. I know you do. But I brought up the idea that these monsters were coming from a dimensional rift.
Like the kaiju from Pacific Rim, but yeah.
Basically. Really fucking happy that was confirmed. Only because, you sit there and you're like, not technically from that portal, to be fair. So there is definitely something else out there, because the portal didn't technically do it. The portal may have brought Bill over, if you want to bring that up, right? But the portal did not bring over these other monsters, because the second he arrived in Gravity Falls, they were there.
Mm-hmm.
He being Stanford. So they were there already, right? But anyway, like I was saying, though, so, yeah, it's interesting to me, that these things could be coming through a dimensional rift, because I was sitting there and I was like, I think we talked about this. It's like, hey, it'd be crazy if these things were coming from elsewhere because, there's a fucking portal right down there. And, and all this stuff. And it's like, hey, it's pretty much been confirmed unless that's just Stanford's own theory, right? But, something has to be letting these things in.
Mm-hmm.
And clearly Stanford has been doing some fighting of his own. He went in there, not there just yet, but he went in there with just a coat. And he comes out with a bigger coat and weapons. So something's going on somewhere. He's not talking about it yet, but he didn't go in there with that giant weapon, the laser gun or whatever it was.
Right.
So clearly something happened on the other side that he isn't talking about just yet. But anyway, so yeah, it was nice to see that though, right? Just dimensional rift. It's like, hey, it's pretty, I don't say obvious, but it's like, it's kind of weird, which is like, yeah, no, all these monsters exist. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, yes, I know some shows like to do that, and it's cool, but it's nice to kind of have that real flavor to it where it's like, oh, no, they're coming in through some kind of rift, and we got to figure out what it is. It's like, well, yeah, because, man, it'd be weird if all these monsters were just around. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How'd you feel about McGucket?
So that was interesting. That's one of the things I wanted to mention. I was just zoning off for a moment because I was thinking of, like, actually trying to calculate how old Mabel and Dipper's, like, grandparent is. Because I was just picturing, like, okay, so that was high school, probably last year. So they probably have about, like, 17 years on that last brother. Because if you remember when Stan was being kicked out, she was, like, nursing the baby. So
interesting. That's
interesting to me. But more importantly,
then you know what? I'm sorry to interrupt that. Maybe that is the dad, and that's why they're great uncle. They're not grand. They're great because they're 20 years or something like that.
That's what I'm saying. Like there's a gap there.
Yes, excuse me. That could be the dad. I thought he said grand.
He might have. I want to go back and watch because that's really significant to me. Mm-hmm. That makes me wonder.
Right. We'll definitely give you guys a recap on that when episode 13 comes out in the next 4 months.
Right.
Is it coming out next week?
It happens the day after.
Is it coming out next week?
It hasn't been announced yet.
That's hilarious to me.
Meanwhile, we have a Stephen bomb going on. However.
Yes. But anyway.
So
you mentioned McGuffin.
Yeah. So one of the things I want to go back to is and this one actually kind of hit me hard. The idea that so when McGucket comes back out of the portal, he speaks backwards, and he essentially says something like Bill Cipher Triangle Guy or Triangle Man.
He said Bill Cipher Triangle. The same thing he said when he did the triangle mark back during the episode Society of the Blind Eye one.
And you realize why that hurts so much, right?
Yes. Well, because he even said it himself. He said, I got to go forget this. And it hurts because it's like, wow, that's what started everything in a way.
And on top of that, he couldn't forget.
Yeah.
That's why it hurt me. Because of the idea that he vaporized his brain, essentially, over and over and over, and he couldn't forget.
Finally he did, but he's so fucked right now.
I mean, he's beginning to return to his old state, which I think is very interesting. Because, like, this leads up to what will eventually be, like, you look at the state that Stanford and McGucket are in now, and that re-meeting is going to be very, very significant and powerful.
Yeah, that's going to really hurt. You're definitely going to have an episode of Stanford just feeling bad about himself. Because someone is going to mention, it's going to be a thing where, like, maybe Mabel's going to be like, oh, yeah, he was erasing his mind because of something he saw. And she's going to have that, either her or Dipper, one of them's going to say it, and there's going to be that trail off at the end. And it's just going to hurt Stanford a lot. Because it's going to be like, right, that's what, yeah.
Right, and I mean, it's interesting. So he comes out, I think, of the portal and says, like, when gravity falls and Earth becomes sky, fear the beast with just one eye. And I originally was wondering, like, to the significance of Bill in the sense of, is he going to be the big bad? Because in my head, he's still not. Like, because everything points to him being the most dangerous person on the planet, he's not. Do you get what I mean?
Right.
Like, it can't be that simple because, like, we all know all of those things talk about Bill, rather. We know that Bill is dangerous, too. And 3, like, we're aware of that, rather. Like, we are aware that he is dangerous. We know who Bill Cipher is. So there's too much there for me to be able to say that Bill is the worst enemy they're going to face.
It's interesting. I mean, it's funny because I know to you, you're like, they're pushing him too much. But I would argue that they're giving him such nonsensical things to say that they may make him the big bad because I know it seems like, of course, he's a big bad. They're always talking about him. But in a way, he gives off this certain attitude that he isn't the big bad, which is why he might become one. I mean, it's one of those things where, like, okay. I mean, interestingly enough, it was like, I mean, it's funny because now I want to try to make a reference, but I can't because I'd be proving myself wrong. So you know what? I'll prove you right. Why not? Fuck it. So Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods, you've seen it, right?
Yeah.
Have you seen it? Okay. Remember, if anyone has seen it, and if you haven't, sorry. But it's,
give us 30 seconds.
It's been out for a while, right? So, but anyway, seriously. So, okay. So the bad guy, you assume, is Beerus. And I'm not saying he isn't the bad guy, because he is, right? Lord Beerus. But you look at him and you're like, that's the bad guy. And not only is he the bad guy, because he's trying to destroy the Earth, he's the strongest person in the universe. You don't realize that the man traveling at his side, who basically acts as if he's like his butler, is actually the one that trained Beerus, and he's actually the world's, like, the strongest in the universe.
Yeah, I like that
that's
kind
the idea.
of thing. One of
Where
the things,
I wonder if there's someone, either if Bill, because I could argue both sides, or either Bill is the one traveling with Beerus, or he's putting himself out there like, ha ha, hee hee, ha ha. So he is, the thing is, he's either the one that's, because he isn't being taken seriously in a way, is the one traveling with Beerus, or because Beerus does have a funny personality himself, he still has that, Bill still has that funny personality, but he isn't the big bad. He's strong as hell.
I'll give you, though.
But,
that's it. That's exactly it.
I know, yeah.
We don't exactly, like, I can't sit here and say, oh, no, we can easily take out Bill, because we have, the only time we got close to beating him, he left the battle, essentially. Like, when they were in Stan's mind. He walked away willingly, in the sense that it wasn't, he was getting beat, but he seemingly was strong enough and was just entertained and left.
Right.
So we don't know how to beat him.
Yes. So, okay. So looking at, all right. By the way, speaking of, before we get into McGuckin at the end, I want to mention the idea that we saw Get 'em Dude's mom, and I laughed really hard.
Yeah. We saw a lot of stuff.
We
saw young Blubs. We saw why Lazy Susan has a lazy eye.
Much. Yeah, I love that so much. We're almost there, and I love that so much. But I want to mention something huge. Speaking of Bill, I want to mention something fucking huge. Bill, from the looks of it, was trying to drive Stanford insane.
And it's funny because if we remember reading, or what we saw in the journal, apparently it was like, that at first I think he mentioned nice things about Bill, and then, it turned into, he's a demon, must write so he can't see my thoughts. And, I assumed that when Stanford met up with Stan Lee, he was only afraid because he thought there was something to do with Bill, that Bill was messing with his mind. Because he couldn't trust anything.
That's what's scary to me in a weird way, because you hear the whispers and you're like, of course that's Bill, that sick, sadistic, playful thing that Bill is. That's essentially a demon that Bill is. And it's crazy because, that, like you said, he had to poke Stan to be like, all right, cool, you're real. And it's like, wow, what sick horrors has this man seen?
Right,
it's basically been his own...
He feels like he was losing his sanity.
It's basically been his own Amityville horror for about a good God knows how long until Stan came. Think about that. Just Cabin, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that because it was snowing. The Shining. It was his own version of The Shining, I feel. Until Stan came. And that's the scariest thing in the world. And I know it's like, Matt, you're reaching, you don't know, But it's just, the thing is, even though some things are allowed to be shown on TV, on Disney Channel, they're not going to show everything. They might have him talk about it, but he probably saw some sick and twisted things, because all you have is essentially a demon whispering in your ear 24/7. That's going to affect you. I mean, that's never happened to me. But I think we can assess that that's probably going to affect you somewhat.
No, I'm with you, obviously, jokes aside. There's obviously something there that's... And I guess that's the kind of stuff that I really like about Bill, because we don't really know what he's capable of. We just know that he has done some damage and that he can do a lot of things.
Yeah. What's very interesting is, for all we know, he's not able to actually kill you. But he can sure as hell make you put a knife through your own heart. Like, how interesting would that be? Like, what if Bill technically has no power at all, if you will? A bit like, if you want to, I think we made this reference before, a bit like Freddy from A Nightmare on Elm Street. In a way, he has no power. In a way. But we are the ones that give him the power. Because all of this happens in your mind, in dreams, and things like that. And I know it's like, well, Matt, he clearly has power. Well, if you don't give him the power, if you really wish him away, in an interesting way to say wish, but, you know, he goes away. Versus, let's say, Jason, who, you know, I wish Jason away. All right, machete's going through your stomach anyway, so good luck with that. Good luck with wishing Jason away. But anyway, so, all right. Talking about, before we get to that Dusk to Dawn thing that I really thought was really fun, I want to mention, so we have the fight between Stanford and Stanley. And it stinks because, all right, so while it made sense to throw the book in the ocean, but it's crazy how you could tell that, you know, like any person who works hard at something, right, Stanford still ends up clutching at it, right, even though Stan was going to destroy it on the spot. It's so crazy how it's like, because he's worked so hard on it and things, something like that, because he's going to burn it on the spot instead of, let's say, throw it into the ocean where he couldn't see. It was like, no, my work. And he still stuck to it, even though it's like, no, don't do that. No, don't do that. And then they had this huge fight from it, another fight. And we got to see how Stan got that tattoo, which is crazy because something we didn't ask, but we sort of asked about. But we thought, oh, it's probably related to him being evil or something, or being part of some kind of cult, or being part of the Society of the Blind Eye, or something like that, or something like the Society of the Blind Eye. No, it was just between this fight and the machine heated up, and it burned it right into his skin. And I was like, man, that sucks. So just be constantly reminded, like, yep.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like,
no, and there was a lot of discussion about what is Stan's tattoo, what's going on there, you know.
Yeah. And it was just very interesting to see, you know, having, you know, that being the reason why it was like, you know what, I'm going to, because I really thought that it was like, brother, I'm going in there, you know, get me whenever you can, or, you know, whatever, some kind of experiment gone wrong. No, it was just a freak accident.
No, and also Stan mentions, I think, in one of the shorts that we had, like, outside of the series, when we have, like, the old Dipper's Mysteries or stuff like that.
Right.
When Stan talks to Dipper, he says he doesn't have a tattoo. And we think of it as Stan just lying, like being the con man he is. But he's right. He doesn't have a tattoo. He has a burn.
Yeah. Right, that's true. So it's very interesting.
He has a deep burn that stayed with him that he didn't treat because he was so focused on figuring out what happened with his brother that he didn't treat it.
And how do you really treat it, to be fair? How do you treat it? You know, because you notice that Stan is definitely does not enjoy walking into hospitals, things like that, authority,
and
he's
police,
also
not a medical genius. So to be fair,
No. Yeah, that too. So it's both. He's not going to be able to treat it himself, nor does he want to be on the record. That's, you know, what's that. Not wanting to be on the record for anything after that night. You know, being the kind of person that, you know, faked his own death, took his brother's name. Very interesting that, you know, he did it at the Dusk to Dawn, when you notice, you see Blubs working at the Dusk to Dawn. You can tell that it was right before the two died, by the way, the owners, because they had the kid doing rap outside. So I would assume that Stan literally walked in right before the death. Right before the double heart attacks. Because that was the exact scene that we saw before it was like, and then they were struck down by double heart attacks. And that's been abandoned since. And I was like, oh my. But yes, so okay. So yeah, we got to see the tattooed up guy before his tattoos. He was wearing this sweater vest.
Yeah, we saw a lot of the residents.
Yes. Lazy Susan before she was quote unquote lazy, which was crazy. I didn't mean to make that rhyme. I'm just saying, like, literally, it was like, I just always thought she had that. You know, like, I just thought, yeah, she always has that. It's like, nope, Stan did it. Which I think is crazy. It's like, Stan, and I love it too, where it's like, I could assure you that is not permanent. And I was like, Stan.
Yeah, I know, and I laughed, and like he got around, and it's just a lot is explained in this episode, and it made me happy. And now I just need more. That's the problem. I need more again.
I agree.
And
well, no, I really think it should. Like, it should happen next week. It's really silly that it's not, or at the very least in this month it should happen. It's kind of silly that you'd bring it back. And
you
just
build up
like
so
I'm
much
not
hype.
even. Yes, I'm not even saying we need Steven bombs. By the way, like I understand the show not needing, because in Steven Universe, it has the benefit of having 11-minute episodes. So a 52-episode season is really a 25. Like a 50-episode season, 2 episodes. It's really a 25 to 26 episode season technically. I mean, I know there's still a decent amount of work and writing into it because it's all it's still content. But I would argue it is a bit easier to churn out than a full Gravity Falls episode. So
I think so too.
I'm saying one episode is a bit easier to churn out than a full Gravity Falls. So I understand. I don't need a 5-episode, like one per day of Gravity Falls. I don't need that. In fact, with the impact that Gravity Falls brings, not that Steven Universe doesn't, but the impact that Gravity Falls brings, I think I would get tired out. Like, I would really get tuckered out. I'd be like, okay, you don't have to give me some for a while. It's okay. But anyway, so, but I still think once a month, 2 every month, not a bad deal. I wouldn't say it's a bad deal. But anyway, so apparently, and I thought this was funny. See, this is where I know that they're allowed to have a little bit more leeway because of the money that they're bringing in or the general fandom or something that's being brought in. I don't know what, because it's not even like Gravity Falls gets like 4.0 ratings. But clearly it's doing something better than its other shows out there. Or, maybe they just noticed the fandom and they just really see some kind of turnaround, maybe through other numbers as well, if not just the live TV ratings, maybe through, web ratings, DVR, things like that. Because the Mystery Shack used to be called the Murder Hut.
That made me smile a lot. That was one of the things that got legitimate laughter out of me.
I didn't think they would.
Because
I seriously,
also,
I was like,
did you see the newspaper clipping?
What was it?
So right after that they show like a little like montage of like Stan changing clothes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
On the side, the side is constantly changing. One of it changes to a newspaper clipping that says, "New Murder Hut changes name officially to Mystery Shack."
That's funny.
And I died because I was like, they care. They really care.
Yes. It was just, I just really enjoyed that they were able to do something like that. And I really had to rewind it. I thought, that's not real. That's not real. So one thing, all right, so I want to thank Seuss. Thank you, Seuss. I forgot about the agents, too.
Mm-hmm. I was so spellbound by your story.
Yes. And also, I'm very happy that Dipper still has the machine to erase memories. Like, it wasn't just thrown away. It's like, oh, no, we'll keep it. We won't use it. But if we need it, I'm prepared. And also, by the way, if you noticed. Oh, sorry, what were you going to say?
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, if you notice, it seems like, okay, I don't know if Stanford, I'm sorry, I don't know if, Stanford. I don't know if Stanford knows that, McGucket used that thing to erase his memory, but he definitely knows that it was invented. So
well,
McGucket
invented it, didn't he?
Yes. But I don't know if he understood, I don't know if he understood, I looked at McGucket's research and he was looking into stuff like this. I don't know if I knew he was going to use it on himself.
I don't think he knows that either. I think that we'll find out. That's why I really look forward to the whole Stanford McGucket meeting, because he's just going to be like, what happened? You were like a genius. And then, he deteriorated his own mind.
I mean, apparently he was going to be like a Bill Gates, apparently.
Oh, that was a funny little thing. He was going to be Steve Jobs or something, and I died.
Yeah. It's like, well, that went downhill pretty quick. You look into an alternate world, and all of a sudden it's like, I think I've, not even that, by the way. He does not even I think I've gone insane. No, it's just like, so McGucket, how do you feel your transformation went? Well, I started saying hootenannies. It went from, it's not even I think I may have lost my mind. What do you think, Giant Bunny? No, it's
right.
Just,
it's really interesting to me
yeah.
because obviously he was brilliant. Like he was just like on the road to, and he went ahead and went into this portal for effectively what, let's say 10 seconds,
right.
10 to 15 seconds, and he saw enough in there to quit the project. And then you have Stanford, who's been in there for 30 years.
Right. And it's interesting because, so the strength that it takes from Stanford, it's crazy. Like that amount of mental strength. Also, I want to mention the fact that, the fact that McGucket looks in there, and it's just, what's crazy is, okay, so he erased his mind a lot. But we mentioned this before, but I really want to just pick at it now, too, for at least a minute. The idea that even though he lost himself in a lot of ways, he was still an inventor. Like, at the root, he was still an inventor because he made the actual beast, the robot in Legend of the Gobblewonker. And he also made a Shamebot.
And Gideon's, he made
Gideon's thing too, yeah.
No, it's a thing where, like, okay, so I forgot which musician this is, but there was a musician with Alzheimer's, and his memory was deteriorating. And apparently the last thing to effectively go was his ability to play an instrument, because it was so hardwired and so frequently used that it was the hardest thing to forget. So, like, that's the thing with McGucket, where, like, he was an inventor at heart and he worked with machinery. And at the end of it all, like, he lost his memories, but he couldn't, take away the whole ideas of Bill, and he couldn't take away the fact that he was an inventor. And I think that's a really touching, albeit depressing, story to Afterface.
Yes, and I think we're going to definitely hear more about not only McGucket, but definitely about Stanford's time in the other dimension, because you wonder, maybe he was fighting off Bill. Maybe when Bill's not here, he's there.
Yeah,
because we don't know a lot.
So much, and there's just so much to be filled up in terms of, like, when Bill reacted that way when he thought, Stan Lee was Stanford. He obviously wanted more because he thought, like, this is the Stan that he wanted to get back at, which I assume is Stanford. And
which is funny.
Like, subtle things, like, what makes it interesting to me, like, okay, Stan Ford hatched and presumably raised the shapeshifter. And later when we meet him in season 2, he mentions that Six-Fingered Nerd hasn't been himself in 30 years, implying that, he knew or he encountered Stanley.
What I want to mention, very interesting about Bill, so obviously it might take away the fact that Bill was in the other world, right? Because, of course, like, why would he get... But what's really funny, I find this hilarious. So Bill looks into his mind, right? Some would say, well, he's going to immediately find out that he's not, the man that he thought he was. They always spent time together.
The memories are so similar.
Yes. So it's like, oh, so he has a brother, and that's it. Mm-hmm. But it's like, but it's but who's the other brother? So it's funny how, Stan maybe, or you can, where, like, he looked into his brain. He realized it wasn't the same brother, but he's like, fuck it, we're playing a fun game. I get to kill his brother. That's still good.
Mm-hmm.
And Bill doesn't need to say stuff like that because Bill is a master schemer. He only needs to mention it when it's relevant. So let's say had this season went on and we hadn't had this yet, maybe it would have slipped if it would be fun to him. Because that's what I noticed too, the idea that if something is not fun to Bill, it would not need to be done.
Right.
If something isn't appealing to him, it doesn't need to be done. Like, he could have easily not done Gideon's, like, he could have easily killed Gideon and been like, I don't care about you. You're a skinny meat sack. So, you're just a small meat sack. Right? That's all you are.
It makes me wonder about is, so we know Gideon summoned Bill.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder if he was, for some reason, locked away in that dimension with Stanford. And Gideon, like, unleashed the hell on everyone. But
Probably.
also the idea of, like, well, what happened that Bill was locked away It had to do something with Stanford.
Well, yeah,
in my opinion.
Because I assume that Stanford woke him up by making that portal. Stanford locked him away, and then Gideon brought him back, and now it's going to be mentioned, probably near the season finale. It's going to be mentioned, and Stanford's going to say, "Wait, what? I'm sorry.
No.
Say that again."
Yeah, and I feel like I need to go back and watch everything because talking about Bill, you remember how we mentioned that he flashes a lot of images in his, when he shows up? I distinctly remember the one of, quote-unquote, the Stan, basically, outreaching his arm in what looks like distress. And I'm 90% sure that it's the scene where he loses his brother.
Wow.
I don't think this has been said before on the Reddit because I also don't have the ability to go back and screenshot this and put it together. But if you're out there listening, Internet, I want you to help me with that one because I'm 90% sure that I remember it distinctly because it's Stan's face looking on in terror with his hand out, and I think that's the pose he's in when he loses Stanley, of course, when he loses Stanford.
And you can talk to us about stuff like that through our Facebook page, which is /ThoseGuysOnTheRadio, our website, which is thoseguysontheradio.tumblr.com, or our Twitter, which is @thoseguysradio. So definitely contact us about this. Satish? Oh God, I thought you died.
No,
not Bill, not again.
So that was right.
But anyway, so okay. What's interesting is that the FBI gets their memory erased, which was smart the way it happened too, because again, it's great to have a scientist here now, because now that you have a scientist here, you're able to do stuff like that. Let's put it on the frequency on this wave. Everyone close your ears. Everyone else is going to hear it. And they all get their memory erased. And what's crazy is they were actually about to go down the staircase. They found it. 1 second later, and even though the memories are going to be erased, they were going to be like, oh, there's a staircase down here. It wouldn't have mattered. So it's crazy, right? He got him at the last second, like many shows, but in this case, it just felt very, big to me, right? And I love J.K. Simmons doing Stanford's voice because it makes him sound official, as if he really is from corporate.
Right.
And so, I don't know, there's certain voices that I think wouldn't have fit, and it's just I'm really happy they chose his voice because it really adds to the character. And also, Stanford mentioned it before, but it's really funny. The idea that he does not understand how technology has changed, and we have to sit there and go, man, technology has changed.
Might have been my favorite line in the episode, by the way.
Yes, because even if it's only 20 minutes.
Give me all of your floppy disks and 8 tracks, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck. That was fun.
Yeah. And it's just because even though it was 20 years ago, I would argue 20, because of the fact that if it was 30 or 40, even if they're 60, they'd be in their 20s. That's not,
I think that's accurate,
so I assume it was. Really?
Because, put this together. Okay. Stan leaves, 18 years old. Stan goes to door at the Mystery Shack, or what would be the Mystery Shack, and says, you haven't seen your brother in 10 years. That makes him 28. We had 30 years.
28 is good. 28 is good. I'm saying I didn't think of them in their early 20s, but 28, that works very well.
I think 28 is right, and then I think right now they're
perfect.
both 58.
Okay, yeah, that's perfect, because then the dad is about a good 17 years younger than that.
Yeah. It would imply that the Pines family has children early.
Yes. So anyway, all right, so yeah, floppy disks are still around. By the way, I don't know if you noticed this too. The flash drive that the FBI had, okay, I laughed really hard because I feel like their flash drive should look more official, but it looks like the one that I have.
Oh, it made me laugh so much where I was like, the government can't afford a high-quality flash drive. They just have the cheap-ass ones that people hand out for free at the mall.
Thank you. So you noticed.
You guys could at least just have the one that pulls back with the button that contracts the flash drive.
Yeah, no, mine is literally 14 gigs. I think 16, but they're not always 16 on the dot. So yeah, so it has 14 gigs, and it looks just like that one. I want to take a picture and just be like, I am the FBI, but I don't know if I'll get put on any lists. But I just want to put it on there, just I am the FBI. Also, by the way,
for your entire department. Luckily, I'm here to clear us all up.
Yes. I don't know if you found this funny, too. Not the idea, although I found this funny, not them stammering and, like, tripping over themselves because they got hit with the memory wipe. Because that's supposed to happen, so that was normal.
I thought that was awesome, by the way.
It was. It's normal. I'm actually happy they didn't crash. That was nice. But no, the idea of Stanford saying, just call me Ford, which that's cool. But then it's like, thanks, great Uncle Ford. And I'm like, that doesn't seem right.
No.
That just seems funny to me. Great Uncle Ford.
But it's implied that he likes Ford because when he sends the postcard to Stanley, he addresses it as like Ford.
Oh, yes. By the way, so of course Seuss would call Wendy.
Clear up the next 14 hours.
So we're not there yet, but yes, clear up the next 14 hours. And then, you look at Stan and Ford, and they're still arguing with each other. And it's great, I think, because in some circles, I'm like, relationship drama. But it's because it's new to this show that I'll give it time. You see, it's funny because you might be like, someone might say, Matt, but you complain about Supernatural still having that. And it's like, the key word is still. After 10 years. And look, I'm not saying that brothers are supposed to have like an unbreakable bond. But after 10 years, it's still always something. It's always.
The subsequent scene with Mabel and Dipper really kind of hurt because it was scary for a second. Just the idea of, like, we're not going to be like that, right? Because the show loves to torture us like that. Like, they did that, just even with cute things, like in the clone episode. Hey, we're not going to, turn on each other, right? No. But just think, like, we're not going to get mad at each other, right? No, of course not. And you see Dipper goes to sleep and Mabel's awake because now she's afraid. Now she's afraid that
that's something that I think I enjoy because again, the idea that, having Stan and Stanford having their, relationship strained brings a nice, interesting wrinkle into this story, something that's different for this specific story to have. Whereas with Sam and Dean, in my opinion, it's the same thing over and over. Different situations that make them have fights. But it's still the idea of, like, Sam and Dean arguing, but Supernatural. So, but in this case, it's like this is a new character that we haven't seen. So it's great that it's just not like, and now we're best brothers. It's Stan and Stanford.
And now we have a world of character depth for both characters.
Yes, and then that brings in a problem for Dipper and Mabel, possibly another wrinkle for them, where it's like, I don't think they'll become that because it's like we're not going to go that far in the future.
Yeah, but it just makes me wonder too. And then from the previous discussion that the two of them had, I mean, Stan Lee doesn't want them anywhere near Dipper and Mabel. He doesn't want Stanford anywhere near them. But all they probably want to do right now is talk to him.
Which is interesting
Dipper. I think that might cause a bit of a rift.
Yes, and if you noticed, I found this very interesting. When, yes, it could be to protect them, but I feel personally that when one brother's there and he's going to and he's the new brother, the one they haven't met yet, and it's like, we want to talk to you and hear everything about you, it's a little bit of jealousy.
That's the thing, too. I mean, even just early in the episode when it's like, wow, that was an amazing con. It was okay.
Exactly. Just the little stuff like that where it's just, the kids are going to praise him. He's going to be like, that's all right. Because when he was younger, it didn't matter. When he was younger, they were inseparable. But then they had that 10-year rift based on a misunderstanding that his brother did not stand up for him for, and he got kicked out of the house because of it. And now all of a sudden, and the other brother doesn't want to, do anything nice for, Stanley, because not only is Stanford sitting there going, oh, you got me basically kicked out to go to my Ivy League school, essentially. Now you also got me trapped in an alternate dimension for what, 30 years?
Yeah, and it really makes me wonder.
Years.
Because there's a legitimate reason, though, in Stanley's mind to ask for a thank you. Because in his head,
of course.
But he's not going to get it right now.
Because of the fact that while I think he deserves a thank you, I can understand why someone would say no. And here's why. Right, here's why. I saved you from what you caused.
Right.
It's hard. You know, it's like, I saved you from where you put me. And sadly, he did not save him in a timely manner. A year? Oh, okay. But like 30 years in there.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that he had the opportunity
to do it. It's the idea of like finding, well, first off, yeah, he had to fend for himself. But finding the journals, learning quantum physics, basically learning everything that Stanford knew to put this machine together. And he couldn't find the journals either. So it's just, it's interesting.
Yes. So before we end everything, I want to mention, okay, I hate Mabel because I want puppies made of ice cream. So I'm not a big fan of Mabel right now because she put that in my head. And I kind of want puppies made of ice cream.
That's funny.
I got to be honest with you. And two, okay, so Sue's explaining what happened, everything that happened to Wendy, really puts this show into perspective, right? Like, how do you sit here and explain this to someone? Because Seuss was actually doing a fairly good job explaining, minus all of his cuts. He was doing a pretty good job explaining.
No, it made me laugh. It's like, but Stan, the real Stan, but there was another Stan, but that was built by Stan Lee, who was acting as Stanford, and Stanford, it's like, wow, really? When you say it like that, it makes me...
Yeah. It makes it sound like some soap opera. And when he's like, Seuss, it's 3 a.m. Because when she sees them, she's going to be like, oh, well, shit.
Right.
Right? But the fact that she's hearing this all through the phone, through Seuss, of all people.
Who is probably winding around the real story by being confusing.
Yes. But yeah, a lot of good stuff. I mean, you can tell this was the new character that was rumored to get involved. But definitely not a bad character. I remember a lot of people were thinking it was going to be another kid. Like a cousin or a sibling.
Nah, man, nah.
I mean, a sibling, yes, but not a younger one.
Right.
So it's nice. You know, it's really, really nice, I think, to have
I'm
that
with it.
layer.
I just need more now. I need more.
Oh, of course. I definitely would like them to go to a 1 a month. I know it's funny. It's like, really, 1 a month? Yes, 1 a month compared to 1 every 2 months, 1 every 3 months, because you bring it back and you assume this is going to be the string of releases for this summer's Gravity Falls Season 2 thing. You know, because they did their mid-season. That was 11 episodes. We're on episode 12 right now. So you think they're going to go on for like another maybe, 8 more episodes, 9 more episodes, maybe 11, right? Maybe 11 or 10 is what I meant. 11 would be nice. But still, the idea of let's get this through on a weekly, every, maybe 2 times a month basis and get this over with because summer's here. I mean, hell, summer was here last month, but still, summer's here, right?
Yeah.
It's July. And it would just be nice to kind of get this through. And I know, we don't want to spoil a good thing, but again, spoiling a good thing for me in Gravity Falls terms would be airing 1 a day.
Yeah, I don't like that at all. I'm okay with 1 every 2 weeks or something even.
This isn't Dragon Ball Z. Not knocking on Dragon Ball Z, because as you know, my love for Dragon Ball Z. But this isn't Dragon Ball Z, where the show was done in Japan 10 years prior, and all they have to do is dub them. And even when they were airing at the time, they were based on a manga or a comic book, a Japanese comic book, that they had to stretch out to the point where airing 1 a day does not kill anybody. In fact, it's preferred. I think it's the preferred method of watching. Watching 1 a day, about maybe 5, 6 o'clock.
Right.
Preferred method of watching, right? Versus 1 every week. I'd rather not, thank you. At least with the way the old one worked. I mean, 296 episodes of Dragon Ball Z. I'd rather go 1 a day, right? But with a show like this, it's like, 1 a week, 1 every 2 weeks, 1 a month. Okay. A lot better than 1 and then we wait 2 months, and then 1 and then we wait 2 months. Because it's like, wow, that hurts. That hits hard.
Righto. Well, we'll get on the schedule soon enough. We'll find out quickly enough.
Definitely. So, we're ending everything right now. We're kind of winding things down. I would like to thank you guys for listening to those guys. As I mentioned before, we have a lot of different ways for you to get updates on our shows or to contact us. We have a lot of different shows that we've done, both Satish and I, and a lot of other, hosts that we'll bring on. I mean, we have a lot of different hosts, and we'll do shows. Well, Satish and I, we've done WWE Raw, general WWE pay-per-views. We've also done Black Dynamite, Mike Tyson Mysteries, Pokemon video games. We've done, obviously, Gravity Falls. We've done Steven Universe, and plenty more stuff. Also, some of our other hosts that we've done shows with, we've done things like, Dragon Ball Z movies, podcasts on Dragon Ball Z movies, on Dragon Ball movies, currently a weekly podcast on Dragon Ball Super. Also, another thing, other things that we've done are Supernatural episodes. We've done Doctor Who episodes. And, Walking Dead, Gotham, Arrow, Flash, lots of different cool stuff. And, you can definitely check it out through our Tumblr, our website, which is thoseguysontheradio.tumblr.com. You can also check out our Facebook, which is /thoseguysontheradio for updates on newer shows. Same thing with our Twitter, which is @thoseguysradio. Our Instagram, which is also /thoseguysontheradio. Also, you can check us out on iTunes by searching up Those Guys Radio or Those Guys on the Radio, or even possibly Those Guys. Just see our picture. You'll be able to get all of our older shows through iTunes. If you like consuming your media through YouTube, you can also see us on there as well. Also, which, by the way, the link to our YouTube is posted on our social media accounts. We also have ourselves a Gmail where you can contact us about different promotional opportunities as well as show ideas, show suggestions, which is thoseguysontheradio@gmail.com. And also like to mention, we do some paid podcasts as well. If you go to tgotr.bandcamp.com, you're a WWE fan, you can definitely check out our SummerSlam 2005 pay-per-view podcast as well as our WWE Unforgiven 2005 pay-per-view podcast. And there, for the low, low price of $1, you can give more if you wish, but for the low, low price of $1, and you get to support Those Guys on the Radio. And we have a band camp coming up, of course, which is going to be Matt's Riffs and Dubs, which will be very interesting. That's actually the name, by the way, Satish. Matt's Riffs and Dubs. So it's going to be,
you didn't work hard on that one, did you?
I actually did. Not. I worked hard enough.
Like, I'm sure you worked hard on the actual content, but, like, the name, you were like, fuck it.
Matt's Riffs and Dubs. Well, because it's one of those things where, like, I know I'm going to know that even though we're going to get a lot of different people doing the riffs and maybe even some of the dubs and stuff, and we'll explain the dubs, what I mean by that, when we actually release one, but dubs and stuff. But I'm probably going to be a constant on everything. So it's just like, like those guys, there's a lot of us. And I know, even though you haven't been able to do some, you are able to do podcasts without me if need be. As long as they pertain to, like, nerd stuff and everything like that, or niche stuff, like, totally, do a podcast without me. But I'm not going to sit here and be like, it's Matt's podcast. But yeah, of course. We've talked about Final Fantasy 15 stuff. We've talked about that. Like, that's totally doable. Yeah. So anyway, but with Matt's Riffs and Dubs, it's like, it's probably just going to be mostly me. Matt's Riffs and Dubs. So yeah. But that's coming up, too, in the near future, where we should be doing riffs on certain Dragon Ball Z filler episodes and possibly some, Marvel films and some Dragon Ball Z films, maybe even Dragon Ball Evolution if we feel like a little masochistic. And yeah, so anyway, we're at the end of our show. And again, we would just really like to thank you guys for listening to Those Guys. Thank you all for listening in and for, just being fans. We really want to thank you guys for being here, as always.
Thank you very much.
All right. So say goodnight, Satish.
Good night, Satish.